right, well, good afternoon, everyone. It's John Gator coming to you live from Wellington, and looking forward to having a chance to chat with you guys about several different things that we're going to be going over today. So, as always, even though I am on the Board of Trustees for the town of Wellington, anything I do share is my personal opinion. I do not speak for the Board of Trustees. I do not speak for the town of Wellington. I just speak for myself, and I'm excited about having the opportunity to come and share with you guys about some of the different things that we have going on, and hope that some of the information is helpful for you guys. So feel free to throw any questions or comments that you have in the chat, and have a few things to go over with you guys today. Don't anticipate this being a real long show. I will cover this with you a little bit later in the show as well. We are actually going to be changing the time here in a couple of weeks to moving forward half an hour to 3:30. Again, I'll be bringing that back up here at the end of the show to talk about that. But with that, let's go ahead and get into our agenda for today. We do have, we're going to start off with kind of doing a recap of the Board of Trustees meeting that we had this last Tuesday. So do want to go ahead and cover that with you guys. So we'll hop right into the agenda on that. And so first off, I do want to start by apologizing to the public that did attend that meeting. I actually was 2 minutes late. I do try to make it a point to be early to our meetings, and I was late getting into the meeting, so I missed the very beginning. We did start off with having an amendment to the agenda where there was an item, let's see here, it was, I believe, item number 5, the contract approval for IR's Economic Development Services. Because I was late to the meeting, and again, I do apologize to you, the citizens of Wellington, because it is my job to be there on time, if not early, to make sure that I'm representing you well. So again, my apologies to the board and the citizens for my being tardy to our meeting. I did arrive just in time for the vote on the request to remove that from the agenda. From what I understand, there were some concerns that were brought up that were not actually brought up in the work session that we had, because we actually did have a work session 2 weeks ago now from this Tuesday, so the prior Tuesday at the work session, and none of those concerns had been brought up. So I did have a few concerns about removing that from the agenda, but the board ultimately did approve removal of that item from the agenda. So we did have that amendment to the agenda there at the beginning. We did not have any public comment that was brought up at the beginning of the meeting. And then let me zoom in here a little bit for you guys, because I know it can be a little bit difficult to read, and I'm actually going to shift myself over onto the side here to make it a little bit easier for everyone to be able to see here. We did have a presentation on the town hall space needs analysis. There is a study that is ongoing as to what we would need in a town hall and what that would look like. And I think what I appreciate is the detail that's going into this, but also the view towards the future. They're not just looking at where are we at right now, what would that look like, what do we need. They're looking at what should this look like in 10, 25 years from now. What are the town's needs going to be? And they're reaching out to our sheriff's department as well as our fire department, the different town entities, to figure out, okay, what are your staffing needs right now? What are those going to look like here in the next 25 years? And so really trying to plan for the future. I know a lot of the challenges that we're running into this year do result in not having that planning for the future. And so I'm very grateful to see that happening in this process, that really are looking at, okay, in the future, what do we need to put together so we don't have these problems? So that was a fantastic presentation by Infusion Architects, who is putting that project together. So I would highly recommend you guys taking a look at the packet. They have some great drawings, and then I actually will be showing you in a little bit later in the show, I'll show you how you can view the town's YouTube page. They are now uploading the recordings from the Board of Trustees meetings onto the town YouTube page, so you can actually go and watch those meetings if you did miss that. So I'll be highlighting that for you guys here in a little while. We then did have our financial audit. So every year the town's finances are audited by a third-party auditing firm, and they come in and look at the financial reports and go through those to see if there are any concerns, and then they made a presentation to the board. And to my recollection, the concern that they did bring up was relatively minor, and it just had to do with a specific process around how we handle adjusting entries. And that's, in essence, it's an accounting term. There's times where you have something that has to go in, you have to make an entry to adjust or fix something that was either done improperly, or that there's some things you just have to do adjusting entries for, and that there was some room for growth in the way that we do that. And I did ask our interim finance director, and he did say that is something we are working on implementing a new system for. So the one concern that they did bring to the board's attention that they had is something that our finance department is working on implementing a solution to. So that was great. There was a few questions I had that were fairly general. I do appreciate our interim finance director answering those questions and giving us that information. And so I would again recommend you guys, if you are interested in those things, you can take a look to see what did the finances from last year look like. And it's a lot of pages, but you can actually go through it. It really was a good reading, good way to get a feel for where's the money in the town going right now. And then after that, we did have an update from our Wellington Main Streets program by Callie Cooper, who is the executive director, just sharing with us a lot of the projects. And it's really quite amazing to see all the projects that Wellington Main Streets has been involved in the town over. I believe this is a quarterly update. So just even with COVID and everything that's gone on, there's been some amazing things that Main Streets program has done for our downtown and for our businesses. So I am just very appreciative of the partnership we have between the Wellington Main Streets, between the town, as well as between the Chamber of Commerce and our local businesses. So very great information shared by Callie, and very appreciative for the work that they're doing. Moving into there, we did have the minutes from the June 23rd, 2020 regular meeting, and those were approved on the consent agenda. I know comments myself, and I believe Trustee Kenny, or was it Trustee Whitehouse? I'm not recalling at the moment, but one of the other trustees did both comment on the appreciation that the fact of the votes are now recorded in the minutes. So in prior minutes, it was just said whether a vote was passed or whether it failed. The actual votes of the individual trustees was not recorded in the minutes, which was a concern to myself, but it actually was brought to the board, not by myself, but by one of our citizens, or multiple of our citizens, but I believe it was Christy Cannon who actually brought this to the board's attention and requested that those votes be recorded in the minutes of the meeting, and was very grateful with our Newtown clerk. Not only did a phenomenal job of professional minutes, but did have those votes recorded in the minute meeting. So I was very glad to see that the feedback from our citizens was listened to, was implemented, and on top of that, we have some very professional looking minute meetings. So was very grateful for that and was excited to see those. Moving on to the action items, we did have an ordinance. So this was an adjustment to our virtual meetings ordinance, and so that was something that the town put in place at the start of COVID that would allow the town board to meet in person, or any of our boards that govern the business of the town to meet in online fashion, but not to handle quasi-judicial issues. And over the last 3 months that we've been meeting, and everyone has been having to meet electronically, there's been some adjustments, and the courts and other legal systems have started to recognize the need to be able to handle quasi-judicial issues over in electronic format. And so with that, there was the request that we go ahead and make adjustments to our ordinance to allow quasi-judicial matters to be handled electronically, with again the concerns of a second wave of COVID and not sure physical meeting and how much space it just makes things easier to be able to handle that right now over a fully online format. We did attempt to go to a split online and in-person format, and as many of the citizens who did attend that meeting can attest, there were a lot of challenges that came up with being able to make sure that the public comment was heard and that it was tracked, and there was just a lot of issues that came up with that. So at this time, until we are really able to go back into a fully in-person meeting, this time we are going to be focusing on just keeping things with the online portion. And so one of my requests that be adjusted into this is there was no there was a requirement that public be able to hear, but there was no requirement in the ordinance that public have the capacity to make public comment. We did have a discussion about some of the reasons that was not in there, being that not every meeting has public comment, or not every item on the agenda is up for public comment, which I totally understand and agree with, that there are certain items that are not really action items. We're making decisions, so there is not a requirement for public comment. But I did request, and the board agreed, and it should be put into the ordinance, that the capacity for the public to make comment must be available for those online type meetings. So we did pass that, and I believe that passed unanimously. And then we had an ordinance 15-2020, which was repealing and reenacting Chapter 13 of the Wellington Municipal Code, addressing municipal municipal utilities. And so this is primarily cleaning up and changing wording to reflect some of the changes that we have had over the last several years in Chapter 13 of our municipal code, just to reflect how things currently stand. There was a few questions that came up with that, nothing major on that, and we did pass that as well. And then we also had a vote to approve the engagement letter with a special water council. And this was exciting because it is a company that does specialize. They've worked a lot with small towns who are in similar situations to ours, and will be able to help us, especially with looking at our water contracts. That's specifically what they're going to be helping us in other areas, just dealing with water and acquisition and making sure that we are able to provide water to our citizens moving forward in a good way. So this is something that's very excited to see, and not only that, but to hear that it is a company that does have experience working with towns such as ourselves. So looking forward to the opportunity to work together with them. And then we did on item 4, we had the contract approval for executive search services agreement. And this is in regards to the company that we're looking to hire for doing the recruitment for a town administrator position. So the board came to agreement at our last board meeting that we all agreed that Peckham, I believe it was Peckham McKinney, I could be wrong on the name, but I know the first part was Peckham, but with this firm that we would be comfortable, and we felt like they would be the best selection for helping us find a new town administrator. And so we got the contract together, and this meeting was to actually approve that contract, and that was fully approved. And I believe that their recruiter has actually already met with each of the members of the Board of Trustees to get their thoughts on what we would like to see in a town administrator, to make sure that we bring someone in that's going to really fit the direction that we are wanting to see the town go, and that really is going to fit the needs of both staff and the town itself. So very excited to be working with them. A very professional firm. Really enjoyed my conversation with their recruiter, and again, looking forward to working with them as well. And moving on to item number 5, as I did mention before, that item was removed from the agenda. I initially voted not to do that, but we will discuss that at the next work session, I believe was what they said, is we bring back and have a discussion. So we'll get to have that discussion and figure out what direction we do want to go from there. And then I don't believe we had any special reports. The treasurer's report was attached. So again, if you guys were interested to see the current status of the town, I would recommend you go look through that. That was included in the board packet from that last meeting. And then we actually were able to adjourn the meeting. I think we were right around 2 hours, which with the having 3 different presentations was really great that we were able to get through the meeting very quickly. So was appreciative of that. I would be happy to answer any questions. If you do have questions, feel free to throw those in the chat. I'd be happy to answer those for you. If you do not have any questions, I am going to actually go ahead and move on to the next item that I have on my agenda. So if you bear with me just a moment, I will pull that up. All right. So our next item on the agenda is the town comprehensive plan. So again, all this stuff you guys can find would be, let me move myself again here because I'm now back in the way. Will be on the town website. So again, just go to townofwellington.com, and you actually go through this banner at the top here. You can click to the side and see different things that we do have going on. And you can click through that, and let's find it. We have multiple things on our homepage right now. There we go. You'll see this here, this banner. It says, have say on your town's future. And so you can actually click on that, and that will take you to the page on our comprehensive plan and land use code update. This is something that I think is incredibly helpful for all of you to understand just the different things that we are looking into right now as a board and as a town. This is really kind of helping us set the direction. Where do we want to focus? What do we want to be going into? And so you can go into this, and that will actually explain to you kind of what's going on. This will also link you into our quick polls that we've been doing, and I would recommend please take advantage of these, because this really gives you an opportunity to share with the town staff that is working on this, with there are members of the Board of Trustees who are a part of this as well. And then we do have a consultant who's actually helping us put all of this together, and we really are looking for feedback from our citizens on what this should look like. This goal here is to look at how should our town look 15, 20, 30, 40 years from now, and what do we need to be doing in the next 5 to 10 years to make sure that we are prepared for that. So this really is a great opportunity for you to come in, to share that information, to share your input. Initially there was planned to have, we already did have 2 in-person meetings where people did have an opportunity to share different information, or actually no, that was for the town hall. I don't know if we had a chance to do that for the comprehensive plan. I think we did. We did have some opportunity for in-person interviews, but there was a plan to do a lot more of that. Obviously, COVID has interfered with those plans, and so we are now working on alternate ways to be able to do that. So these quick polls is really a way for you to actually be able to come in and to take part in that. So I would recommend that you guys do that. There's some information on this page as well about just the comprehensive plan and what the process is, and then there's also 2 videos down there at the bottom that you can view as well. So I would highly recommend that you guys take advantage of that. And so again, I will be answering any questions. So if you have questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat and I'd be happy to answer them for you. Moving on to the next item, and this is going to be in town engagement. So there are a couple of things I want to cover here. The first is, if you do go to the town website, if you go to our town and then you go to Board of Trustees, that will take you to the Board of Trustees page. This has all the information of each of the Board of Trustees. So this is your Board of Trustees here. If you want to contact us, you can see all of our email addresses are right here on the town website, and you are free to reach out and engage with us at any time. And then at the bottom, you'll see this is new and this was added, is you can actually go and watch the Board of Trustees meetings. So if you weren't able to see the meetings live, the recordings will be put up here on this web page as well. So you can see right now they do have the Board of Trustees meeting from the 14th of July, as well as our work session from the 21st. We do not yet have up the recording from the 28th, but once that is put together and uploaded, that will also be here. So that link will take you to the Town of Wellington's web or YouTube page. I do apologize. You can also look up the Town of Wellington, Colorado on YouTube. At the moment, these are the 2 videos that we have, but you have the ability to go in and to view those meetings as well. So if you did miss out on anything, you don't have to miss out on anything. You can actually go back and see exactly what happened and what the board talked about, what was presented, and what was discussed, which is something I've been pushing for to really make sure that we have that accessible, and I'm very glad to see that that is up and running. The next thing, I believe this did go out. So part of this ongoing discussion about our water rates and what that's supposed to look like. I know the big thing is how do we get community engagement and make sure that we're talking with members of the community about what's happening, about what's going on, and getting your input and your feedback before we do make a decision. And so I know that we are working on getting something put up where we can actually meet with people, but in the meantime, there is surveys that will be going out. And my understanding is, as long as all went well, the links to those surveys or information on how to do those surveys should have come out with your water bill that was sent out this last Friday. And so there will be opportunities for you to fill out that survey online. There will also be opportunities, if you would prefer to fill out a physical copy of the survey, that will be available at Town Hall. It will also be available at the Town Hall Annex, which is where the Sheriff's Department is located, as well as at the post office. So you can go to any of those 3 places to actually gain access to a physical copy of the surveys if you would prefer to fill it out with that. It is made available online. It is not on the town website yet. I would expect it will come up live on the town website shortly. Also, as a part of this process, I know that our town staff has been working on getting together like a Q&A page. I know that there have been a lot of questions that have been asked of the Board of Trustees and of the town staff that have been a little more involved or a little more detailed. And rather than having staff give a poor answer to that question, we have asked town staff to go back to get the answers to those questions and then to actually bring back a good solid answer to that. And so what we'll be working on is there will be actually a page on the town website that will be basically an ongoing question and answer portion where we'll have the questions that were asked. what the answers that came out of those were, as well as more information that we really feel is helpful to the issue. So specifically to right now, a lot of that really is focused on the water rates. So as soon as that link is live and we do have that, I will get a note out to you guys, and I will cover that on my following Sunday show. But I did want to make sure to let you guys know that that is upcoming. All right, so at this point, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a little bit of a shorter show today because we have no second board meeting to cover. So I would if you guys have any questions, please feel free to throw those into the chat, and I would be happy to answer those. Just in terms of community conversations, the only main thing that was brought up to me, there was two things. One was how to get in touch with or engage with the trustees in the town of Wellington, and really that was what I just showed you guys was with our, I'm going to put the link to the YouTube page in the chat for you guys, but the question was really how to get in touch with the Board of Trustees and to get in touch with them. So I know for the Board of Trustees, you can reach out via email is the best way to get in touch with us. But you can also, some of us are on Facebook, so you can reach out through Facebook. Some of us do have also other ways that you can contact us. So I know on my Facebook page, I do have listed the different ways that you can reach out to me and get in touch with me. And I'm happy to chat with citizens at any time. So that was one. So just again, email is generally the best way to catch people, but just if you just ask, we'll be happy to let you know the best way to get in contact with us. The second thing that was also brought up was some question about what exactly was going on with. Oh, so Hannah says, I've run to a couple of people who say that there is no reason for the water fuss. Basically, the rates don't need to go up and the water is fine the way it is. And everyone who says otherwise is just being scammed. Are there resources I could show those people? Yes, Hannah, we are working on getting a presentation from our finance director put together that will actually highlight the water rates and the issues we've had from that. I believe if you go back to the agendas and minutes, I'm trying to remember exactly which board meeting it was, but I want to say it was either our 623 or it would have been the 615 board packet. I can get you an answer specifically. There was actually a there was a PowerPoint that Tyler presented. It's in the agenda packet that walks through the situation for the water of the town. And just to speak very clearly to that, the town water fund has been losing on the low end. The lowest I think it's lost since 2013 was about $20,000, and it's actually averaged probably closer to the $200,000. And our highest loss in a year I think was about $800,000 or $900,000 since 2013. So our water fund is rapidly losing money. It hasn't been caught because we've also had an influx of new development, which adds tap fees, but those tap fees are not designed to pay ongoing maintenance. Those are specifically supposed to be used for upgrades to capacity, upgrades to the utilities, improving water plant, things like that. And the concern that has happened is it looked like our water fund was doing fine because when you added those tap fees in, we were doing just fine. We weren't losing money. When you take those tap fees out, which I really appreciate that Tyler Sexton, our interim finance director, started doing, is we were able to see what those losses were. And he actually took that back to 2013, where with except for 1 year where we think we were 30,000 positive, our water fund has been losing anywhere from $100,000 to, like I said, I think $800,000 or $900,000 a year over the last, where are we at, 7 years now? And there's several things that have tied into that, but part of that is our water rates have not increased. But if we were to do nothing with the water rates, I think when Tyler ran the numbers for us, our water fund, at the rate that we're going, the water fund would go insolvent within, I think, by 2023. And then after that, it would start pulling into the funds that obviously the rest of the town goes. And what happens at that point is if we do not address the issue, our water fund goes insolvent, which water is a necessity. It must be able to operate. The state would actually come in and force the water rate changes. So we would lose the ability to make a decision for our own local municipality. The state would all of a sudden come in and dictate and say, you must do this. and so the rate changes would come anyways, regardless of what we wanted to do at that point. So that's part of the challenge, and what we're trying to figure out is, how do we do that? Do we do it gradually? Do we do just a big jump to just get it done so we don't have to keep raising it year over year? And that's what we're trying to work out right now, and I'd really recommend you as the citizens engage with us, the trustees, engage with the town, and let us know your thoughts and concerns. But Hannah, I will work on sending you over a link to the packet that specifically had that information. So I'll reply in this thread once I dig up. Like I said, I think it's either the board meeting of the 23rd or it's the week before that, but I'll find the specific one that has that and I'll get that over to you. Because there is information, and there will be more coming. That question and answer that I told you about, Tyler really is preparing that, and that should have a lot of information to be able to highlight what's going on, but we will have that. Don asks, is there a plan to tie into the Fort Collins internet broadband project in the future? That is a fantastic question, Don. I do not know the answer to that. And it was the interesting thing, none that has come across my plate yet, which is interesting because I know it was a huge project that my father was really wanted to see happen for the county of Larimer County. So it's kind of neat to see that project happening. But as of right now, nothing has been brought across my attention about us tying into that. As much as I would love to see improvements in our internet here in Wellington, that is something that I have not heard anything about us moving forward or being a part of or being invited into. That is something I can reach out and see if our town staff knows otherwise. And if they have, I could definitely let you know on that. All right. So if you guys have any other questions, go ahead and throw those in chat before we wrap up. The one other thing that was kind of brought up to me over this last week is I know that there are multiple petitions, and I have not actually seen any of the petitions that are circulating town right now, but there are multiple petitions that are going on throughout the town. Some of them are local, some of them are, from what I understand, state or regional. So I have not, like I said, I have personally not seen any of them, so I don't know what they're all about. I do know on the local ones, just to clarify how things work with that, those petitions, once they're circulated, all of that is handled by our town clerk, who does all of the handling of that, making sure that those are done. They know what they need to get. Then they verify the signatures. And then once those signatures are verified, from what I understand, the initiative that is brought by a citizen petition then comes before the board, where the board can either approve that initiative right away or they can refer that initiative to the town voters. And what's fantastic about this is it gives you, the citizens of the town of Wellington, the ability or the opportunity to bring an issue that you think is important to either to the board for the board to vote on. But if the board does not feel that issue or they don't agree with you on it, the beautiful thing is with the citizen initiative is that can be referred, if the board does not agree that it should be initiated, that it gets referred to the voters. And so you, the voters of the town, get to make that decision. And that's what we're looking at with these petitions. So if they do go through, that's my understanding of how it would work. It would come to the board. The board has the choice to either just enact the petition as it stands, or to go forward and refer that on to the citizens of the town. So we'll just keep your eyes open on that. We should start seeing where we're going to look at if the petitions did get the required signatures and they are approved. I would imagine that would come before the board at some point in the next few months to either approve or refer that to the voters. And most likely that would be, I would anticipate that being potentially on the November election. But again, just keep that. If you have questions on that, please talk to the town clerk. The town clerk is the one that handles all the petitions. The Board of Trustees, we are not involved in that at all. As I mentioned, I'm aware that there are petitions circulating, but as I mentioned, I don't even know what's on them. So I haven't seen them. I have nothing to do with whether they get approved or not. Until something comes before the Board of Trustees, we have no engagement with that. So if you do have questions, reach out to the town clerk's office on that. And Don says, doing a big jump in the water rates during these trying times may not be well received. I would definitely agree with you on that, Don. I wish this is something that had been caught, like I said, back in 2013, when the water fund started losing money, because then we could have done small increases over time to get here. There are several challenges that we're running into. A large part of that is the fact that the price that we pay for water to North Pooter has jumped in the hundreds of percent since 2013. It's not like we've had a 10 to 15% raise. I'd have to go back and look at the documentation, but we're talking about a multi-hundreds of percents raised. I want to say we're close to 1,000, if not more than that, since 2013. And we've had no corresponding change in the water rate since then. And so that's part of the challenge. And that's part of why, Don, this public engagement, when these surveys do come out, please engage, send emails to the board. We need to know the concerns that you guys have, because that is hugely important for us to know. Don also asked, do we have numbers on the unemployment rates for our town? Not that I'm aware of, Don. That is something that I could ask our town staff. I know generally that would be something that our economic development director would probably have had a better pulse on that. Unfortunately, we did lose our economic development director here. I want to say it was going on a couple of months now. We were in the process of potentially hiring a firm to take that over. That has been pushed off probably at least another month, maybe longer. So I will ask to see if we have those numbers, but as far as I know, we do not have those numbers. Or if we do, they haven't been brought to my attention. But we are trying to figure out the best solution. The challenge, Don, is that if we don't change things now, it's just gonna. We're at the point where the can has been kicked down the road long enough that we have run out of road. So at this point, if the can gets kicked any farther, it goes off a cliff. And as rough as it's going to be, and as hard as it's going to be, we don't want to. I know. I knew this coming in. I knew this was coming before I got elected, but I know it's not going to be easy. I know it's not going to be popular, but my goal is I don't want to make people's lives worse off by saying, let's delay this, because I know it's just going to hurt people the more that we put this off. So what we are trying to do is figure out how can we best do this that people know what's going on. We've addressed the concerns, and we've really tried to make sure that we get there in a way that is as good as it can be, right? We understand it's not going to be good, it's going to be hard, but we want to make it we want to do the best job that we can and really make sure that we're engaging with the public on that. So I would just ask, please engage. The surveys are going to be coming out. We will be having some form of a public forum. They'll probably be on Zoom, and then see what that comes back. Kimberly Van Dress asks, did water usage level out for the month of July with the restrictions? So Kimberly, we did see a little bit of a dip once the restrictions did come into place, but then they did continue to rise. So the short answer is not completely. It does look like it did have somewhat of an effect. To my knowledge, we do get an update weekly from our neighborhood services. We've had some warnings that have gone out, but I don't believe any citations have been issued yet. So hopefully that means that our citizens are engaging with the watering restrictions. I know my yard is looking pretty bad. If any of you drive by my house, you can tell that we've been watering our yard only that 2 times a week. But the good news is the spike that we saw in May was, I want to say, 46 or 50% above the highest month we'd ever seen. Our jump in June was still significant. But we have to remember, when year over year, last year in June, we had probably more rain than I've seen in a June in a long time. And so our water usage was very low last June comparatively. But I believe that our increase this year over our highest ever June, which would have been 2018, was about, I want to say 30-something%. So it was less of a spike than we saw in May, but we did still see a large number of going up. Dennis asks what the new bulk station volume with the new restrictions. Do not know yet, Dennis. I know it's been open a couple of weeks yet. We don't have any numbers that have been provided to us on that. I do know that I just got an email on Friday that apparently there was a construction company that, even though they're not supposed to be using it for construction water, was using the bulk water station. So there has been a weekend restriction put on the bulk water station. So if you are wondering why that is there, it was because a construction company was utilizing the bulk water dispenser over the weekend. So we did have to add restrictions on that. they have been warned, and if it happens again, there will be action taken on that. But I don't have any numbers on the volume that's being used. I would anticipate that as we learned at the meeting, I don't anticipate that being a significant number right now, but obviously I don't know what those numbers are yet. Don asks what the number of new home closings per month. I do not know for new homes being built or closed on. We don't get those numbers. We do get the number of permits. I know that this last week there was one permit. That's it. That's all that was sent out, and those numbers have not been large over the last few weeks. As far as new homes that have been closed or bought, I do not know the answer to that question. Then Don also asks, is there a program with the waterworks to offer a low-cost test to see if there's some leaks in houses that may be using extra water without homeowners really? That is a great question, Don. I will ask our Public Works Department because I don't know. But that would be a great way to look into that, because I actually know that there was someone who actually reached out to myself and some other trustees this last week that they were concerned about what happened with their water because they had some extra water usage they didn't know about. So I will find out if we do have a way to address that, because I don't know the answer to that. But that is a fantastic question. And that would be a great way for us to look to see if maybe there are some gaps that we're missing. So great questions, guys. I don't want to close out, so I'm going to kind of wrap things up here, but if you have more questions, throw them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. Just as an update for you guys, I do appreciate this opportunity to share with you, to engage with you as the members of the town of Wellington. We are not this next Sunday, so next Sunday will still be at 4 o'clock, but the following Sunday, so let me pull up my calendar here. That's actually going to be on the 16th, so the 9th of August. We'll still be doing 4 p.m. The 16th of August will actually be moving forward 30 minutes to 3:30. My family and I finally been able to start reattending a church, and we do have a Sunday evening service that we go to that I do need to be able to wrap my live stream up a little bit earlier. So we're going to be moving the time frame forward to 3:30 for doing these updates on Sunday. So we still will continue to do them. I look forward to still having the opportunity to chat with everyone and answer questions. We'll just be moving to 3:30 p.m. rather than 4 p.m. on Sunday. So we'll be wrapping things up around that 4 o'clock time frame. So with that, I don't see any new questions with chat. I think I answered, and like I mentioned to Hannah and Dawn, I will reach out to you and get you that information. And then Kimberly, there was actually presented, I believe it was in the work session. I'm gonna have to go back and look. In one of those YouTube videos, though, actually we'll have the graph for what June's water numbers looked like. I want to say it was the 14th board meeting. So if you actually look at the video from the 14th of July on the town YouTube, I think it actually does have the update from Mr. Gowling, our Public Works Director, that would have those numbers for the month of June to highlight the differences that we saw. You'll see there was a little bit of a drop after we did have the restrictions, but we do still see those numbers going up. But I will also, Don, I'll be asking about the unemployment numbers to see if we can get those, if we have those, as well as checking into whether we can get a program to check a low-cost test to see if there's water use going out that we're not aware of. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here, guys. It was great talking with you today, and I look forward to talking with you guys again next week. There's no board meeting this Tuesday, so I won't get to see with you guys this Tuesday, but I will see you guys next week. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, whether on social media or on via email. I'm happy to talk with you guys. Thanks so much. You guys have a great week.